COVID-19 has affected our lives in more ways than one. Most importantly, it has segregated between essential and non-essential goods, questioned the importance of responsible production and consumption, but also challenged marketeers to wear their thinking caps to reach, attract, and be at the top of mind of customers. Philip Kotler's definition of a brand as a name, a term, a sign, a symbol that identifies the products and services of one seller and differentiates them from that of its competitors is definitely going through certain transformations in the post-COVID times. Not in terms of the why, what, but in terms of how, where. I, Dr. Noyan Mitra, will have a hearty discussion with Dr. Sabyasachi Dasgupta to bring to you more about branding in post-COVID times.
Right. What is branding?
Let me start off with an imaginary situation. Let us ride a time machine and transport ourselves in the year 1420. Now, in the year 1420, if you would have gone to a store and you have asked for a shampoo, they would have given you one product of a particular shampoo. You would have taken it, gone home. Now, let us move to 1920. You would have gone to the same one store and you would have asked for a product of a shampoo, and then they would have given you 10 different shampoos, okay? And they would have told you this is the feature, benefit, like this. Now, let us come to 2020, which is this year. When you go to a store and you look at a shampoo, a collection of shampoo, you ask, can you give me a shampoo? They give you they say, which of the 60 products of shampoo that I will give you, each with 10 variants, 10 types of sizes, then there are 10 different, product price points, okay? So what has happened is the features, the benefits, and the emotional benefits, all of this they start talking to you about. When we transport ourselves to 2520, the year 2520, I forecast that we will have around 250 to 60 products of shampoos with 60 different variants, sub-variants included in it, and 30 different sizes with 30 different price points accordingly. So what is happening in this particular example is that from features to benefits to emotional benefits to incentives to experiences, and finally I believe that a mentally tortured consumer would just come back to point zero and say, give me any stuff that suits the whatever my criterias are, and it's a relevant reliable brand. Okay, so a brand goes beyond a certain product, and it's basically more than a product because it has dimensions that differentiate it in some way from the other products, designated to satisfy the same wants. Okay, so if you look at the choices, how do you differentiate one product with the other is through branding. So it creates a special position for that particular product in the minds of the consumer. The value promises made by a brand enable the customer to judge which among this entire value choice would lead to a less of the opportunity cost in terms of the product that they would buy. So all of this is happening in branding because there's a perception about a product that has been created by the brand, okay, which the product actually owns. So marketing of multiple products are possible in a cluttered market more because of this branding. In order to sum up what branding is, while I give you an example from there, you are differentiating, you are using a unique selling proposition. Branding comprises of all the tangible and intangible parts of a product which promises benefits that will add value to the customer's life. That is what branding is all about.
Excellent. So tell me, what are the key components of branding that stick with the customer?
Okay. So in terms of key components, there are two parts to it. One is from the company side. Okay, so what they do is they come out with a great tagline. They will say, what would the brand be if it was a person. Then they will create a certain identity in terms of the culture of that particular brand. Then how the relationship, they can enhance that particular relationship with the customer, the kind of strategies that will be there. What basically the customers will say about that particular brand when they are owning that particular brand. Okay, so it has to be in sync. The products that they create, the identity of the product that they create has to be synced with the identity of a particular person in the target group that they are talking to. Okay, so a particular consumer will say, how will I look when I own this particular brand? What will others say when they look at me? Will this brand add additional value to my life more than the other brand in the same category or other brands in my same need space? For example, if I have Domino's Pizza, would it add more value than having, you know, a pizza from Pizza Hut or an Uncle Sam's Pizza, or an indirect competitor like a McDonald's burger, or for a tandoori chicken, you know, from on an Indian restaurant? Okay, so basically, which value is it going to add more when I have one brand over the other? More importantly, over here is the the equity of the brand with the particular customer. But, you know, first of all, the customer needs to be aware everything about that particular brand. Secondly, the customer would judge the performance of that particular brand, how the brand will perform in his or her life. Thirdly, what is the image that the brand has in terms of that particular category? Fourth, the consumer will judge whether it is suitable for that particular consumer or not. Like I said in branding, whether it will add value to that particular person. How will that next, you know, the customer will feel that, how will it, you know, how will the feeling be in terms of owning that particular brand? And finally, how the brand will resonate with that particular consumer. Okay, so resonance is the highest form in which the brand will be sticking with the consumer when when a customer or a consumer becomes brand loyal. Okay, so in fact, the vibration of the brand should resonate with the consumer's desire over and over again. The moment that vibration of the brand resonates with the vibration of the consumer, that is when the brand will stick the maximum amount of time, and that will create loyal consumers for that particular brand.
Right. So what is the role of innovation in branding?
Okay. Innovation in branding is required both for high-end products who will follow a premium pricing strategy in order to showcase that the additional value that they are creating, as well as for, you know, low-cost business models who need to rewrite the rules of the game for their survival and sustenance by innovating in their domain. Secondly, I also feel that every star company started very small, but had a killer innovation to outplay its competitor. In fact, one of the books which is in process to come out is on one of my books. It's on this particular topic as well. For example, a PVR cinema. Okay, before that there was a one-screen cinema which was there. The PVR changed the rule of the game by its innovation of a multi-screen dimension which came into the market. For example, Honda, as a brand, knew that in order to break into the cluttered market of two-wheelers and revitalize the automatic scooter market, all it had to do is some innovation that would bring some fresh enthusiasm into the category. Hence, the brand went in for all country-specific innovation so that the product is customized as per the country's requirements and that consumer insights. Honda launched the innovative Honda Activa by revitalizing the dying, Indian automatic scooter industry, going against the tide of motorcycle trends in the country. So the turning point actually came when the innovation was done in such a way that it seemed that the brand was operating in a blue ocean strategy, devoid of its competitors. Innovation forms a pivotal role in determining not only the presence of the brand, but also the existence of the brand. So to my understanding, I think its innovation is something like this, that you have to keep on cycling. Like we cycle, the moment we stop cycling, we'll fall down. So innovation is like something like this. So you innovate and then you communicate to the consumers. That is also another important part. You are innovating or not communicating doesn't help. Okay. For executing innovation, brands need to focus on consistency also of its promises and core values. However, this does not deny a category expansion for that brand, keeping in lines with the business. For example, one of the classic branding failures was when Harley Davidson, already considered in terms of biking, they went in for a standalone perfumes. Okay, Harley perfumes were one of the disaster, because it was that brand category expansion was done in a certain way where the image of that particular brand did not resonate with what the perfumes were. Okay, so now Harley has its own merchandising store and they have their perfumes, jackets, and everything. Okay, that works well. Colgate, for example, they have gone into allied categories, and that works. When a brand goes into an allied categories and go on innovating themselves from a toothpaste to a toothbrush to a mouth freshener, into a dental care kind of a macro segment, then it works. Hence, innovation should be meaningful, but stay consistent with the existing image of the brand. In an era of hyper competition and copying, where brands find it difficult to leverage their innovations as returns on investments, with the market thronging with lookalike brands, it is very important to be in the toe of innovation and think about the next innovation once this particular one innovation is immediately launched. So it's like a game of chess. You are playing one particular stride, and then you are thinking 5 different plans to it. For example, let me give an example of a brand called Zara. Constant innovation of this brand, where designers are not known, but the fashion changes every 15 days. A brand innovation department, I feel, rather than only a product innovation department, is the need of the hour. And patents would play a very important role in terms of sustaining. Branding is thus, for an innovative perspective, it's a majestic illusion overarching a particular product. And the more we are innovative in that, the more innovatively we are building on the illusion, the hypnosis, the better will be the branding. So I'm sure branding, innovation in branding is extremely required for brands to stay ahead of the curve in today's world.
Excellent. But now with the COVID, everything has changed. So how can we efficiently reach out to our customers under such uncertainty?
One of the challenges which is there in terms of uncertainty. In fact, one of the things which I would suggest is that discovering all possible touch points, branding touch points where contact is the least. Okay, so that we don't have we have social distancing, contact is the least, thereby enhancing social distancing, thereby making the last mile much more important than ever before. Previously, what used to happen is, yes, we go to a store, there is a store, and we go get that particular product and all that. That last mile was covered by the consumer. Now the consumer is at home. Brands need to reach the home, whether digitally, whether personally somebody going. So contactless delivery, contactless bookings, home deliveries, sanitized delivery, hygienic services are all the broad brand boosting measures that will allure the consumers in their experiences in the new normal. Okay, so omni-channel delivery, I believe, is need of the hour. Basically, I have a few other points also, which is alignment of business priorities in terms of not only the products and the services, but also in terms of the channel to the marketing matrix is important in the new normal, or as I say, alternative normal. It is already there, but an alternative to the normal, to create customer value and enhance their return on investments. I think brands have to personalize, more in today's world in terms of marketing and branding communication to a stronger customer service, and hence it will lead to customer retention. Customer service is very, very important, because now the consumers are puzzled what they're going to do with this particular brand. Okay, how are they going to reach? So the brand should take the initiative and say, look, be at home, stay safe, but we are going to reach to you. Okay, so the customer service has to be very, very important, because previously what we used to do is, if there was a problem, we used to go to a particular store, argue with the person, and then give it back, take something. But now it is very difficult. So brands has to go that last mile, which I was talking about, is very, very important in today's world of uncertainty. So thereby it will enhance the customer journey experience through a feedback driven model, which will foster higher engagement, greater loyalty and retention. However, I also feel that for tech-savvy customers, that can be, the brands can promote themselves to online self-service touchless technologies, or something which is known as SSTT, or self-service touchless technology, and automated tools for basic interactions. And for critical requests or critical understanding of the problems, there could be high-skilled live agents who would talk to the customers. More important is to talk to the customers a lot. So obviously, that, like I said, that customer service has to be very, very important. Since movement between the channels will be a common and important occurrence, in this particular new normal and era of uncertainty, as hybridized channel will play important roles in the new normal. And hybrid channel means one channel following the other. Sometimes it's digital. Digital may lead to something called direct marketing. In a new normal, there needs to be a team of employees managing this movement seamlessly and providing continuously and consistently superior experience to consumers. Okay, so the last mile experience, which with customer service and very customized kind of services to the customers, will be very important in today's world of uncertainty.
Right, right. Do tell us more about internal branding. What is it?
Actually, you have asked a very interesting question. In fact, when I was in Airtel, when I was heading the Airtel division from Eastern Region, we at Airtel did a lot of internal branding for our employees and distributors. Okay, so something like we did like the Power of Two. It was the campaign for only the internal employees. So where the power was, we are showing the power between the employees and the distributors. That was mentioned for uplifting the morale of the employees, telling them that you are doing good. For distributors, from the Airtel perspective, we used to have an entertainment come learning environment where, for example, we used to take them to exotic locations, and then there was a theme which we would develop. They would come for maybe a 3-4 days, just a relaxation period, and then they would have all sponsored by Airtel, and they would have a gala time, fantastic time, and then they would learn about the company. So they would get happy about the company, and then when they go back to the distributor shops, they would be promoting the company more. So the core of this internal branding lies in the understanding that employees are basically brand ambassadors of the company. Okay, and a happy employee brings more effectiveness, productivity to the work than the less motivated employees. So all the employees in the company need to be actually in sync with the management thoughts and way forward, because sometimes it's a top management and the hierarchy is so much that the management that there's a problem where the manager wants to communicate something, and then it goes on to a spiral in communication, and they're not able to communicate, or they're not able to wish the employees doing good. So this is a great opportunity. Internal branding is an opportunity, where the management thoughts and way forwards can be also given, as well as the management can appreciate and enjoy, and so the employees will enjoy the laurels of their success together of the work that they regularly do. These are marketing and branding promotions to make brand resonate with every employee, so that the employees feel proud working with that particular brand, and they give more than even what the employer would ask them for. Very important, because they are brand ambassadors. They go out into the market as an individual, but they should always communicate that particular brand. So in the new normal, and especially for sustainable and productive business outputs, it is important that the employees remain motivated. This particular period is also very frustrating. So it's very important that the businesses are going up, some are going very down. So it's very important for the employees to remain motivated in the entire COVID period, so that they can transfer this entire positive vibes and motivation to the customers. Okay. More importantly, the internal branding also has certain advantages in terms of reducing the attrition rates, disengaged employees, demotivated workforces without purpose will be channelized into this entire family kind of a format for that particular organization. This will also be a way to reduce, the promotions for recruiting employees. As we all know that, recruiting employees has a much higher cost than just, motivating an employee through internal marketing and just, getting more out of that particular employee. So every human being enjoys seeing the laurels of their hard work, and that's an inherent part of every human being. And internal branding is a fantastic mechanism, which in today's world is not so prominent in comparison to your external branding. But now in this COVID period, in this entire uncertainty period, it needs to be more focused by the corporates and the branding agencies, okay, and needs to be taken more prominently into account during these challenging times. So I think internal branding, you have a very good question, because this is the need of the hour, that not only doing external branding, but companies and brands should focus on internal brandings as well.
Right, right. Excellent. So could you share some case studies that have communicated efficiently and effectively in post-COVID times?
Sure. I'll give you, a number of examples. I mean, 4-5 examples I'll give you in terms of diversified, categories, because that will make you understand how differently companies have propagated in a period of time. One of the examples which I would like to give you is a brand called Parasonic India. It's an electronic company, has launched its latest digital campaign. okay, which is known as Intelligent Hai, intelligent and then HAI. Okay, and that AI used for artificial intelligence, because it is launching in this COVID period a new AI-enabled refrigerators, which not only saves power but takes care of the fast-paced lifestyle of people. It has covered all the digital touch points. That is what I was saying previously, that it should cover all the touch points, and digital touch points are very important, which I mentioned. Okay, so with era also and beyond. The investment from OOH, which is out of home, which we were doing previously, is now transferred into something which we have come into common policy called DOOH, which is digital out of home kind of a situation. So they have done effectively that very well in their digital campaigns and digital touch points. So like something like door sensors, customized needs for everybody. So technological promotion they have done very well as a content in the context of pandemic, and it is pertinent to the consumer segment. The second most, again, more affected sector, as I see, is the transportation. The Ola and the Uber, those aggregator cabs, okay, they had to change their business. There was no other alternative. Nobody was entering a cab, okay, with a kind of a mindset that people who are having, that did not want to enter that particular cab. Okay, so they changed their business to something called operations style, something called Ola Emergency and Uber Essentials, for those who needed conveyance for to and fro from the medical centers. Okay, so that was a service that they were providing. Next, they are coming out with certain communication which will be saying that and already they have started promoting these things, which is wearing masks for the drivers, regular sanitizations. Okay, Ola investing around will be investing around 500 crores to ensure safety and hygiene, and communicating a 5-layer protection strategy through its campaign. Okay, and the campaign's name is Ride Safe India. Uber, on the other hand, as a brilliant competitor to Ola, is coming out with something, a campaign called hashtag Safe for Each Other. Okay, so the content of all of this, knits well with the context of the pandemic, which is there for that particular consumer. Like educational institution, I can say for our Globson Business School as well, because they have also remodeled into delivery to placement, incorporating the digitalization in every process. What I'm trying to say over here is that the service content is fitting well with the context of the pandemic and beyond, for adding greater value to the customers. I go to the main next example, which is an example which I'll give off the hat, because this is an example which is very interesting. Kent RO. Okay, we all know that it is a water purifier. Okay, it came up with an advertisement during this pandemic period. Okay, which this particular advertisement was, regressive in nature and attracted criticisms across the consumer segments during the pandemic times. The ad, which promoted the bread and the the bread and the atta maker, asked consumers, and that was the tagline which they were asking the consumers: are you allowing your maid to knead the atta dough by hand? Her hands might be infected. Don't compromise on health and purity, and buy Kent bread and hence buy Kent bread and atta maker. The consumers reported to ASCII, that's the body of advertising where you report, okay, and suggested it is discriminatory ad and hampers the business and daily bread of the maids who come to the house for help. Already there are households who have stopped maid because of this pandemic, and now with this whole ad, it is going to be even lesser. However, the ad has of course been brought down, and the company has apologized for the same. Here, the context may be aligned, but the content and the consumer connect have miserably failed. My last example, I was very positive in nature, and to me, very innovative during this period of time, is a brand called Amaze. It's an inverter and battery brand, partnered with Virat Kohli, unveiled a digital film against a background of a COVID pandemic. The film takes a post-pandemic, future view. Here, Virat is writing a letter to his future self in 2025, saying how in 2020 has frustrating points, but provides an amazing ray of positivity among customers in the challenging times, and appreciating the health workers who are tirelessly saving lives of people. Here, if you look at it, the content of the brand is relevant to its context and connect with the core of the consumer. So what I wanted to say with all these examples is that it makes a robust branding, and to my understanding, 3 C's are very important. the content, the context, and the customer. Very important to blend during this time, which has been seen in the DNA of many successful branding, communications, and that both product and service industries have done and are doing in this pandemic times.
Excellent. What would be your concluding remarks?
Okay, so in fact, one of the things that COVID, this is to my understanding, one of the things that COVID has taught us is if you do not move out of your comfort zone, nature will make you move out. This is the the biggest challenge that the branding industry has been facing during the pandemic period. Out of book situation basically requires out of book thinking, and brands who have been agile enough to take on the trend quickly by remodeling and aligning their business to the context and customers through their content have emerged victorious in the minds of the customers. I think going in the path of sustainable advancement is also the name that your company has. Sustainable advancement is very important. Brands need to discover alternative routes to engage customers, remodel their business, and re-establish their presence in the markets. The world to my vision will be very different. We will be talking about a pre-COVID era and a post-COVID era, where in a post-COVID era, all brands would have to establish themselves like a startup 4.0 maybe, and scale themselves up the ladder. It would thus be an opportunity for every competing brand to fight in the market, and smart, agile, and on-the-toe brands, innovative in nature, will outdo others in a highly hyper-competitive 21st century new normal era. Thank you.
Excellent.